It is that time when we sit back to consider some of the week's most interesting talking points.
Joining us for the Friday confab of Forbes columnist and author Margie Warrell, who's in the Melbourne studio with us in Sydney, and in Sydney comedian Mark Humphries. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now, I want to start with you, Margie. The Pope's encyclical calling on all good Catholics, in fact, not just Catholics, people around the world, to do more to tackle climate change. You were raised a Catholic. What do you think about the Pope? Is he sticking his neck out too far into political affairs?
Well, look, I actually really admire this Pope. I think he's done a lot of good for the Catholic Church. I'm a little bit of probably a lost stray sheep from the Catholic Church, really, but I was raised Catholic, and I do really admire him as a leader. And it's interesting, he uses both his moral, symbolic authority as the head of the church, but also his formal authority. And obviously on climate change, this is another one of the things he's come out on and being very outspoken on. And I think he absolutely has a right to make these statements. He is obviously not an expert in this arena. So I think, yes, it's interesting that he's come out and said it. I think we all should really take on a lot of responsibility for the environment and sustainability. And obviously it's important to lift people out of poverty. I think the question is, how do we lift people out of poverty in a way that does minimal damage to economies as well? Because that's where the burn is. It's like if you cut back on fossil fuel usage, there is always the trade-off with the economic impact as well.
Mark, I might ask you, the Pope has been questioned a lot about whether a lot of these statements are really good PR. He's come out and made a lot of strong statements about homosexuals, for example, gay marriage. Where do you sit on this?
Oh, well,
not gay marriage, I'm just talking about in general. Is it good PR for the Pope, or is he genuinely involved in this?
Oh yeah, this is the cool Pope. This is the best Pope that I've seen in my lifetime. Yeah, look, this is encouraging to see. I must say I'm a little sceptical though. I think if he is serious about fighting the effects of global warming and climate change, he'd do away with that system where they have the black smoke and the white smoke when they elect a new Pope. That can't be good for the atmosphere. Do away with that.
You're onto something there.
Sorry, what was that, Michael?
You're onto something there.
Yeah, that's it. But I'm guessing he realised that with sea levels rising, that soon it won't just be Jesus walking on water. So I'm encouraged by this. I won't be cynical and say it's just for PR. I think he's read the bevy of research perhaps and putting it out there to the masses.
And Margie, you come from it. As I heard, you were raised raised a Catholic, but raised by somebody who has very close connections to the church.
Well, my mother was a nun for 9 years. Yeah, and everyone's looking for the scandal there. She actually left the convent and then met my dad. So there's no, but that's a bit. We're the Sound of Music family. But it is interesting, and particularly in the context of US politics too, because obviously the Republicans in the US tend to be not as supportive of climate change initiatives. And I think what's interesting is how this is going to play out with Jeb Bush and Rubio and some of these presidential candidates, who are Catholic. And so I think that's...
Who are Catholic climate change sceptics telling the Pope basically to...
Get back in his box.
To stick to his knitting. But look, I absolutely think dialogue needs to happen, and I think where the question is we need to not vilify people who do sometimes challenge some of the opinions. It gets very, very zealous, it gets very heated, and I think clearly there's issues, and we need to have people who are having dialogue without vilifying people who say, I'm not sure about those facts, because clearly we get a lot of conflicting facts in regard to climate change, and I think there needs to be just unemotive dialogue to get to it.
Let's go to our next topic now, and I suppose we could, in a shorthand way, describe it as well. There's science and there's not science. Mark Humphries, I've been waiting all morning to ask you this question about cat videos. A study has found cat videos are tremendously positive for you. They lead you to think positively, have great, happy thoughts, and I know you spend a lot of your spare time watching cat videos on YouTube. What do you reckon?
Michael, I would say that not watching cat videos gives me energy and positive feelings. No, if they could do a survey, a study into the positive effects of watching old clips of the Dick Cavett show, then I'd be really interested in that. But I'd love to see some research into the effects of watching News Breakfast. I don't know if you have any theories about what the benefits of that could be.
Similar. People come away feeling happy, energized, can't
higher
wait
sex
to tackle
drive,
the week ahead.
Increased ability to come up with puns. I'm sure there's all those sorts of things. So, you know, not a cat video fan myself. Not wild about this science, not wild about people spending their time studying this, but I acknowledge that there are a lot of people who spend a lot of time watching cat videos, and good news for those people.
I've just got to say, one of those cats was eating those Japanese dumplings called gyoza.
Oh, were they?
Very garlicky, full of pork and cabbage, but really good. So actually, this one, there he is. And that's a Japanese beer and a cigarette.
Elegant.
And some edamame, those little green beans.
Elegant
So,
cat, Margie. Junk science, of course, and there are new studies. In fact, this great ruse by a German doctor
on chocolate,
saying he, you know, did this junk science piece that chocolate's good for you, taken up by magazines, TV stations around the world. It's very easy to be fooled, isn't it?
I think a lot of people want to believe that if they eat chocolate every day, they will get skinnier and grow more beautiful. But I think that the lesson behind this is we can't believe everything we read. We have to just take responsibility for challenging things and not be really gullible, because, you know, it's very easy to distort research, and which he was openly distorting research. And, you know, often we get mixed up between causation and correlation.
Yep.
And journalists who are reporting things can often be a bit lazy, not check the facts very well. So, hey, you know, if you read something that doesn't seem to make sense and rings of a bit of untruth, maybe it's because it is.
Or seems too good to be true.
Exactly. Maybe it is too good to be true.
Mark, what do you reckon?
Well, I know that there was one morning show in Australia that went with that fake chocolate story. Not on this network,
of course,
thankfully, because you check your facts and you check again. But, you know, I think, you know, in this 24-hour, news cycle and all that, it's, you know, if something comes on your desk, you get a press release, you run with it. Who's got the time to check the academic sources? But I'm going to continue eating chocolate. I don't care, you know, whatever. You could come out and say that chocolate contains anthrax. It's just part of my life. I'm not going to let it go.
I'm with you.
Life is too short. Mark and Margie, as always, great having you on board to have a chat. And you can go and eat your chocolate now, Mark.
Oh, I will.
Have a good weekend.